Why are you based here? What's the history?
Well, it's quite a unique story, I think, in the watch industry. So we have an American founder, Florentine Ariosto-Jones. He was a watchmaker and an engineer from Boston, and he had this idea to combine American manufacturing technology with Swiss craftsmanship. And he came to Switzerland aged 27, across the Atlantic, and he tried Western Switzerland, and he wasn't successful there in finding a base. And he found, I think, an entrepreneurial climate and the sort of Rhine power that we have, the hydropower from the River Rhine, to set up here in Schaffhausen with a business partner. And that's why in 1868 he started here in Schaffhausen.
I find it so interesting, though, that a majority of Swiss watches are made in the western part of the country, but not IWC.
Yeah, and I think it still makes perfect sense because we're the engineer of fine watchmaking, and we have much more of a problem-solving engineering approach to watchmaking than an artisan, decorative approach to watchmaking. And I think the decorative arts are really strong in Western Switzerland, and it influences the whole climate for the type of watches that these brands produce. We're quite close here to quite heavy industry manufacturing. There's trains being made here, there's car parts being made here. You've got the whole southern German car industry quite close by. And I think it was a very good match for Jones at the time, who had this engineering and manufacturing technology approach to find more like-minded people and infrastructure here.
And so do you still find that it's the case where you have the skills here in Schaffhausen to produce these watches?
We recruit a lot from engineering professions, a lot from the car industry, and there you get these systems engineers that you need to work on our sort of engineering challenges that we have, rather than decorated, highly hand-painted dials and things that are more from the métier d'art, I would say, as a background.
Do you really think it stands out, though, when you look at an IWC watch, that it really says Schaffhausen when you look at it?
Absolutely. I mean, you have millions of watch brands that are around Geneva and the Western Swiss regions, and Schaffhausen is unique, and we're one of the few brands that carry the name and the place in the brand name. It's IWC Schaffhausen, and it doesn't exist without Schaffhausen. So I think for us, the origin here is a fundamental part of who we are as a brand.
So much so that you've opened this new facility where we're sitting today.
Schaffhausen, yes.
In Schaffhausen.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is the first time since 1874 that we're building and completely designing a new production facility from the ground up. So our main headquarters building that Jones built in 1874 is actually wedged between the old town of Schaffhausen and the River Rhine. So the only expansion we could do was basically up. And in terms of production efficiency and layout, that's your worst nightmare, because things go from one floor to another floor, over to another building. And also for our clients, it's not very easy to understand the entire manufacturing process when you have to change locations so many times. And here we've been able, for the first time since back then, to really design in an ideal scenario what would the flow look like from a raw bar of metal to a finished watch movement. And then to follow these steps very logically, create very tight spatial relationships between the departments, and also be able to explain to a visitor step by step how watch movement is actually made.
So this is not just a relocation, this is also an expansion as well.
It's an expansion, but it's mainly the consolidation of quite disparate departments, which we had scattered around different sites in Schaffhausen, into one facility and one single process.
How important is digitalization when it comes to your business?
It touches every single aspect apart from our product directly. We sell non-essential mechanical luxury products that have a really high emotional value. And
so how do you marry these two things then?
Well, because it's completely different things, whether you talk about distribution and communication and the way you talk to your target audience about your products and the product itself. The beauty of the product is still in that timeless quality, and that they're really for eternity. And even 9, 10-year-old kids are fascinated by the fact that we can reinstate a pocket watch that's 150 years old to its exactly new condition, and it's still as fascinating today as it was all the way back then. And that we'll be able to do that in another 150 years. Our perpetual calendars are mechanical microcomputers that are pre-programmed correctly all the way to 2499, never needing an update, never needing a new model. There is something that fascinates people in this very sort of transient world of constant updates and constant new content. But then, of course, people's habits of consuming content, buying things, they're changing rapidly, and also manufacturing methods, how we design, how we prototype, all that is hugely influenced by digital. And of course, we're very happy to embrace all that technology to give a currency and a freshness to the brand and keep innovating. So every other aspect apart from the watch is touched by digital.
And I hear you yourself had some success on social media last year, your Instagram account, in kind of getting a unique watch out to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us.
Yeah, that was an interesting phenomenon that goes to explain really how social media has changed the way that watch fans and collectors are building a community online, and then that translates into the physical space. So I actually posted a customized prototype watch that we had no intention of making as I was doing a safari in South Africa. And the collector's response was immediate, and people said, "Oh my God, you have to make this watch." And I half-jokingly just posted back saying, well, if we get 50 supporters for this project, we might think about it. And then within minutes, there were over 100 who said, can I please have number XYZ? And we said, okay, look, we're going to think about it, and we figured this out. And then we confirmed that we're going to make the watch, and they were all sold directly via DM and Instagram and then via retail in less than 48 hours.
You think this is the future, then, this more personalized approach?
It's part of the future. I think it's an important part of the future. It used to be all about one-way communication between brand and clients. We used to make a catalog, create a film, create advertising, and it's all broadcast. Today we have a dialogue where we can talk to every single client worldwide 24/7 from the comfort of their sofas, and that changes the dynamic between brand and customer. It doesn't change all our distribution from today to tomorrow, but it definitely adds a really important element.
Thinking about your strategy for the future, is the biggest driver of the watch market still in China for you?
China remains a vitally important part of our business, but I think there's many other regions that have great potential, the US being one of the key ones. It's still the biggest luxury market in the world, and one where we, with an American founder and sports-focused products, outdoor products as well, we have a natural focus on, and this is really what we're going to build over the next years to come.
And you also have a lot of interest in the second-hand watch industry.
Yeah, this goes back to the realization that our products are in fact for eternity, and it doesn't make sense to focus our efforts only on that moment of producing a new watch and selling it for the very first time. We fundamentally, I believe, that every interaction with an IWC product should be of the same quality and level of service, whether the watch is brand new or whether the watch is 100 years old.
Okay. Tell us about your background, because you're an architect.
Yes.
How does that influence what you do here?
Well, I think architects at the end of the day are trained in creating sort of aesthetic visions for society, but often it goes a lot further than just designing a building. It's designing the way that people interact, the way that people live and people work. And so you create almost like a brand system when you're an architect by creating an environmental product. And this aesthetic look is really important in the luxury space, because we are about products and about an experience that is so emotional. And at the end of the day, I think the choices are always largely aesthetic. You can do everything in manufacturing, you can do everything in operations and efficiency and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, I think the moment what clients fall in love with is the aesthetic consistency of a brand. And I think that's where a design background is probably a real advantage.
And what are your Swiss connections? You're originally from Frankfurt.
So my grandparents lived in Switzerland largely past their retirement, and we had a holiday home in Switzerland, so I spent most of my holidays here. I always had an affinity for Switzerland. I always knew for architecture there's 3 places in Europe: there's Spain, there's the Netherlands, and there's Switzerland. And I faced that choice after finishing university in Bournemouth, and I had an offer from Basel Arts College to come and do the degree year here in Basel. And for me, that was an easy decision at the time, and I always loved Switzerland, and I immediately clicked back into the country.
And just to finish up, for anyone considering buying a watch, what are your kind of 3 top tips?
I think it's all about, first of all, you have to have a good feeling about the brand you're buying into. It has to speak to you. Then I would very much advise to not buy a watch from just looking at images. Put it on your wrist, see what it feels like, see how you emotionally connect to it. And then do your research and make sure that you have, fantastic working movement, that all the technology engineering that goes into it is what you're looking for, and the functionality is what you're looking for. But it's really about that feeling of a piece on your wrist.
Okay, Christoph Grainger-Herr, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.